Hey everyone, it's Tia from EMP Designs here, and today we're going to be looking at the LV8. The LV8 is one of our LED strip controllers capable of controlling 8 channels at 4 amps each. The connected channels can be controlled over RDMX or through a wired DMX, and to allow for this high load requirement, the LV8 comes with the option to use 2 power inputs. Put simply, if you're going to heavily load all channels, you should connect 2 inputs at either 12 volts each or 24 volts each, depending on your LED strip. If you're just using smaller loads, you can simply connect a single power connector into either input. So here I'm wiring in my 2 LED strips. We can see in the top left where the labels for our connections are required to go, and I'm connecting mine in the order red, green, blue and then white. I can also use either or both slots for my common positive. Connecting these wires is done by slotting the wires into the terminal gates and clamping them down using a flat blade screwdriver. You can check they're secure with a slight pull and make sure there are no exposed wires. Moving on to the other side of the device, we can connect to our DMX slot. To do this, we need to connect our ground, which is terminal 1 on our adapter, data positive, which is terminal 3, and data minus, which is our second terminal. Once I've connected my DMX cat adapter, I'll put it to the side to demonstrate how to use it later in this video. Instead, we will begin with radio control for the LV8. This means we will have to turn on our power supply and set our starting address. To do this, we will use these 3 denominations and select the number we would like our address to be. For this video, I leave the hundreds and tens at 0 and set my single digits to 1. Our mode on the left is already at 0, which is our 8 individual channel RDMX control. This means the only thing left to do now is sync to our radio desk. To connect to our desk, we just have to press sync and wait for the green flashing lights to turn solid. You'll also see the LEDs on the right, and these will display our signal strength. Once paired, we can now run through channels 1 through 8, controlling both of our strips. So whilst I run through this, I'll take the time to explain the 6 modes on the LV8. With mode 0 being 8-channel individual RDMX control, mode 1 will be the same mode, however it will be controlled over the wired DMX slot. This alternating trend between RDMX and wired DMX continues with the other modes, and after this I'll demonstrate mode 1, which will be our 8-channel individual wired DMX control. I'll have to bring my DMX cat and also bring the adapter I wired together earlier. I will also have to change my mode from 0 to 1, and I'll be including a list for what each mode is in the description for anyone to refer to. After doing these 2 things, I'll be able to control all 8 channels from my iPad using the DMX cat app. So between modes 0 and 1, the only difference will be the way in which they were controlled. For this reason, I'll only show the RDMX version of each mode from now on to keep this video concise. With that being said, our next mode will be mode 2, which is our RDMX Bicolour mode, and mode 3 will be the wired DMX Bicolour mode. Therefore, we'll use mode 2 to demonstrate how to use our Bicolour mode. The first step will be to change our LED strip to a Bicolour strip. And making advantage of the 8 channels we have, I've connected 4 separate Bicolour strips. So, while I set this up, I'll explain how our Bicolour mode works. Connections 1 through 8 will be divided into pairs of 2. These pairs of 2 will then be designated 2 channels each on our radio desk. Within these channel pairs, the first channel will adjust the brightness of its LED strip, and the second channel will adjust the colour temperature or gradient between the 2 connections of the pair. So we'll start with our odd numbered channels, and that's going to be channels 1, 3, 5 and 7. And you can see these are all going to adjust the brightness. When we move on to the even channels, 2, 4, 6 and 8, we can see that these will adjust the colour temperature. The next thing I do is decrease the brightness by adjusting my odd channels before changing my colour temperature again. Although I'm controlling all of these strips the same way, they are individually operated and you can vary how you would like each of them to look intensity or colour wise. And that nicely ties us into our last mode, which is Bicolour group. This is where we can simultaneously control all 4 of these Bicolour strips, only having to use 2 channels. As I mentioned earlier, we'll skip over mode 3, which is the wide version of the mode we've just covered, and go straight to mode 4, which is our bicolour group. The same as before, the first channel is going to adjust our brightness, and the second channel is going to adjust our colour temperature. Mode 5 will be our wide bicolour group, and that covers each mode for the LV8. The last thing we have to cover is how to desync our LV8, and we can do this by holding the sync button here or on our transmitter. Once the LEDs go out, we'll know we've disconnected and compare again. And that wraps up this video. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll make sure to put a list for each mode in the description. Any further questions, you can get in touch with us over email.